We're here now, live with you till 12:30, getting in the mood to talk to Boy George is with us. George, lovely to see you. How are you?
Very good, thank you.
You look amazing.
Civilised time to be on the TV.
Good.
Very civilised.
Yeah, exactly.
Looking forward to catching up with Boy George shortly. Before we sit
Now
down...
it's time to get up in your living room and dance. Boy George is taking Culture Club back on tour, and with hits like these, why would you want to be anywhere else? Yeah, do.
Lovely to have you here with us, George. Thank you so much for popping in. We were listening to that wonderful clip of Come a Chameleon and the harmonica player in the video. Is that the harmonica player that actually plays the harmonica in the song?
I don't think it is.
No!
We didn't
The harmonica
think it was.
player was actually quite a famous guy called Judd Lander.
Yeah.
So actually, I don't know why he didn't get there. It was the 80s. If you didn't look right, you weren't in the video.
Right, OK. Because we looked at it and we're like, he doesn't look as though he's playing that. Oh,
Here we go, look.
It looks like he's playing it with his nose.
Well, we were doing Bridgerton before it was trendy. Look at us. I mean, it was so ahead of its time in a funny sort of way.
Oh, lady whistle down.
Upstream of fashion. It's such a magical song, though.
It is, and it's a song that won't go away. It's in Despicable Me. It's in the Virgin adverts. It just won't. It's like this song that just keeps. It's like a boomerang. It just keeps coming back.
Do you still listen to it fondly?
Yeah, I've started doing this thing on my solo tour. I even opened with it one night.
Did you?
Which is so outrageous, because usually you save it to the end.
That'd be the big one.
Yeah.
I was like, you know what? There's loads of other songs. Let me open with it. And it was quite interesting, because people were rushing in because they didn't want to miss the opening, because obviously people don't do that. But, yeah, it's just a great song. I couldn't write it now.
Why?
But I don't know if I would.
In what way? Because of the...
I don't know, just that particular song, it's like... Who really knows why a song's so popular?
Yeah.
I mean, sometimes it's repetition, familiarity, because, really the repetition is the backbone of genius. You hear things over and over and they sort of become part of your DNA, and it's just one of those songs. No one liked the song when I brought it to the band.
Really?
They always said it was rubbish.
Because
they thought it was too poppy. Which is anything too poppy?
Can it ever be?
They've eaten their words.
Do you enjoy reminding them of that? Should we play that really poppy song now, boys?
All the time. Always say, should have kept the publishing.
But it's fascinating, isn't it? Those moments in time that still are here now, you can still enjoy, because you and the boys are going back on tour all together.
We are doing a celebration of our first two albums. So Kissing to Be Clever and Colour by Numbers, absolutely in order, which is
As they
brilliant.
are on the album.
Exactly, and they're quite short, those albums. The first album's only about 35 minutes long. Because we just didn't do, it's all about choruses.
Yes.
Yeah.
It's funny, because I've been re-recording the songs as well, and it's just so brilliant when you climb into them and you think, what was I thinking when I wrote those lyrics? They're so almost like beautifully naive.
Yeah. And what's the difference, do you think, between touring back then and touring now?
I think I kind of enjoy it more now because I make the whole process fun.
Yeah.
Back in the day, it was like no one could come in the dressing room when I'm getting ready, drama, anxiety. And now I just kind of enjoy all of it.
Yeah.
So when I get up, I kind of just pursue joy in a way that I didn't think was possible. I didn't really understand that happiness was a choice.
And do you think that's to do with getting older, or do you think it's with hindsight and experience?
Well, it's practice. I followed this thing called the 3 principles.
Yeah.
So it kind of teaches you to look at the way you think in a different way.
Yeah.
Plus, I talk to myself a lot. I do a lot of affirmations. The stuff I did when I was in the jungle.
Yes.
I do that every day. As soon as I wake up, I tell myself I'm in a good mood, because it's very easy to slip into... I would say to people who say I'm not a morning person, it's like you're just making it a reality.
Yeah,
you know what I mean?
sure.
I really do think that happiness is definitely a choice. I wish I knew how to have fun in the way I do now.
Yeah.
But, everything's now, isn't it?
Yeah,
I enjoy
sure.
it.
You learn from life as you go along.
Yeah.
And you've got some very special guests on this tour. Who's...
Tony Hadley,
Yeah.
Heaven 17.
Would you have been back in the 80s, though? Wouldn't Culture Club and Spandau Ballet have been sort of major rivals?
In principle, but I mean,
I know it's
we were doing the
different
same thing. We
Yeah.
came from the same kind of scene, part of the new romantic scene.
Yeah.
Spandau Ballet. But one funny thing, because Gary always says to me that I walked up to him and said, your band's never going to get anywhere.
Gary Kemp. Did you?
Yeah.
Did you?
I said, we're going to be more successful than you. It's just like, there was that kind of childish rivalry. But, you know, nowadays, obviously, I'm able to really appreciate what they were doing, and you know, it's a different thing. You know?
I think it was also such a moment in time, that time. Well, like when Martin came on the show, and he was talking about going to the Blitz, and that the 80s, it was like in colour. It was like seeing the world in Technicolor, and it was just a different time.
I remember seeing Samantha Bowie. They came into the squat I was living in, and they were doing a photo shoot in the hallway, and they were in their, you know, their capes and their tartan, and it was like, you know, just, you know, I remember it so vividly.
Yeah.
You know, and obviously we all thought we were going to be famous first.
Yeah.
It was like, oh, I'll never get anywhere. You know, it was so competitive.
But his mum used to make their outfits,
Yeah.
and she didn't put a zip in the front, so he couldn't ever go to the toilet as well. That was one of the other pains of doing
My
it.
mum used to make a lot of my
and yours
stuff.
too.
She became my sort of collaborator. After, at first, kind of being totally against it, then realising, you know, she couldn't stop me, so she encouraged me.
So really embraced it.
So you've got painting. You're doing an exhibition they're showing your paintings with David Bowie, Madonna.
Yeah, they're paintings I've done of Bowie and Madonna and myself. And actually, I've never done an exhibition in the UK. I've done them in Europe, Belgium, Denmark, and Monaco. This is my first British show.
How do you feel about people seeing them over here? I mean,
I love them. They look amazing.
I love the doing. I'm a doing person. I love, the Japanese call it ikigai, where you find, I love to get up and I love to work on things. People always say to me, you never stop. And I'm like, what does that even mean?
Yeah.
Because if you make your work fun, it's not work.
Yeah.
And you've got a new song out as well.
I've got a song up for Grammy. No, it's not nominated yet, but it's considered. I've actually got 2 songs up for Grammys. One with Paris Savette and Kiki Rowland.
Yeah.
You're Not the One.
Yes.
And also Electric Energy with Ariana DeBose. So I've got 2 up, so hopefully one of them will get it.
But this is the doing and the showing. You're doing these, and you know, that's the point, isn't it? You are still performing. You're still,
you know, creativity keeps me out of trouble. That's the best way.
Which is always good.
You know, using my hands and my imagination, it just keeps me out of trouble.
Well, long may it continue.
Yeah, for sure. We like you
Your
getting
UK and Ireland tour, you're going away with Tony Hadley, Heaven 17, and the tickets are on sale.
Yeah.
Absolutely, and we're sold out in Wales. They love me in Wales. Thank you, Wales. You know what I mean?
Thank you for coming today. Thank
Lovely
you.
to see you, George.
Yeah, God bless.
Got some questions from our viewers that you very generously said you will answer if you can.
The whole truth and nothing but the truth.
This one's from Molly. She says, how many hats do you have? And then Scott says, do you have a favourite?
I've probably got about 300.
Whoa!
But they sort of get given to charities. Everybody always wants a hat, so they do go on to, you know,
They
other
live
lives.
somewhere else.
But yeah, they're everywhere in my house, in food cupboards, under the beds. You know, there's ones that are battered and squashed and think, oh, I can't throw it away. I'm going to try and get it fixed. You
Is
know?
there any that you would never let go of?
There's a couple. Yeah. There's a few that were painted by a friend of mine called Trademark as an artist, and I just, you know, they're battered, they're ruined, covered in makeup, but I just will never let go.
I just think they've all got stories.
Yes, of course.
Catherine says, I feel like I won the lottery, but what's your favourite song?
That's a good one. You know, because I write so much, it's always the next thing. I'm always interested in what I'm going to come up with, and I do listen to everything. So, you know, I mean, in the old days I wouldn't, but now I let everything influence me.
Is there a song, not necessarily that you haven't written, that you wish you had?
Oh, loads.
Oh, yeah.
Anything number one. Anything that gets to number one. Wish I'd written that. Yeah, I mean, I feel like I love good songs. That's it. You know, I don't necessarily get obsessed with artists like I used to with Bowie and stuff, but good songwriting is just an obsession.
Still exciting. John says, is there an artist you'd love to duet with, but you haven't had the chance?
I've actually just done a duet with this kid I met on TikTok who's a Tyler called Joe Connorboy, and it's absolutely beautiful, and I'm sort of saving it for the right moment. Wow. It's a song called Trust. I wrote.
So his business is tiling?
He's a tiler.
Just has an amazing...
You know, I like the fact that he's got a job.
Yeah.
It's like, well, you know, you've got your options open, but we met on TikTok.
He wasn't doing your bathroom up or something?
No, I wish I'd known him because he's really good. But actually, I've done this song with him called Trust, and he's got the most beautiful voice.
Oh, wow.
What an amazing way of artists finding artists, too.
Well, that's the great thing about the internet.
Yeah.
You end up doing these insane things. I mean, Paris Savette, who I've just worked with, I only met her 2 days ago. She made this record, and we just met 2 days ago because you do everything virtual now. It's amazing.
Yeah. This next one is from Corbin. He says, where is your go-to happy place?
Probably painting, or creating in general. I love being in the studio. I love the writing process. You know, I love just kind of trying things out and seeing what's possible. But yeah, art definitely I'll go to my studio late at night and just spend hours there on my own.
And that's always been a massive influence for you. When I was looking at the research and stuff, there was this amazing picture of you sitting around a table with Andy Warhol. I think Rupert Everett was in the picture. Was he in the picture?
Yeah, Bianca Jagger was there.
Bianca Jagger, Quentin Crisp. It was like this. It was the most
dinner party.
Do you remember anything about that?
I do. I remember wearing sunglasses. What? Because, you know, when I see anyone in sunglasses at a dinner or a TV, I think, what are you hiding, you know?
Yeah.
So, yeah, I felt like I was a bit... Again, that was sort of during the period where I was a bit uptight.
Yeah.
And obviously, looking back, I'm like... I mean, I hung out with Andy Warhol a lot, you know, but it was so mad because, you know, when you're young, you're so blasé. It's like, Andy Warhol.
Yeah, arrogance of you.
Now, totally go,
no,
Andy Warhol, you know.
But he used to say the same of you. He's hanging out with Boy George. That was exciting. Michelle says, who inspires you the most, George?
Everyone inspires me. I feel like, as I say, when I was younger, I was much more like desperate to sort of think I was original. But I think when you get older, you realise that actually everything already exists, and it's only really your perspective on things that you're ever gonna, you know, create. And I think we're at a time in history where, like, everything's sort of been done, so it's a good time to start again. So I definitely sort of listen to a lot of the things I listened to when I was a kid, and think about, you know, why I started writing, which is great doing this whole, you know, rewrites of the first album, because it's like, where was my head?
Yeah, and how do you reframe it now?
Yeah, and, you know, and it sort of shows you how much you kind of moved on, but also there's the sort of beauty to that stuff that you just couldn't fake now. It's like what we felt at the time. You know?
Moment in time. This next one is from Pat. She says, do you have any regrets?
I haven't got a bag big enough for my regrets. I think having regrets is pointless, but it's also good to sort of be able to look at things you've done wrong and say, I need to learn from that. You know what I mean? I think, you know, as we talked about earlier, like getting wiser is a choice. It doesn't happen by accident. There's lots of old fools in the world, and I don't really want to be one. So I definitely try to work on myself, my behaviour. I think I'm a much happier person than I was 10 years ago, 20 years ago.
Yeah.
And one last one, Zach says, what was it like touring with Rod Stewart? Was there any mischief caused?
Rod's a rascal.
Oh, he is.
1,000%.
Love him. He walked
That's
into
all that needs to be said.
Simple, leave it there.
And obviously, you know, for me, I saw him when I was 14, Rod Stewart in the Faces at Lewisham Odeon. So I've been a long-time fan. You know, I remember listening to, you know, him as a kid and just thinking what an amazing voice he has. Still has.
And he's always had the outfits too.
Yeah, and he played around with gender roles a little bit. He was wearing makeup and satin. Rod's definitely, you know, a cool guy. I think but he's a rascal.
One last question. This is from Ben in London. Will you come on Tipping Point Lucky Stars and take on the machine?
I'll get sent home straight away. That's the only thing I don't like about the show is the fact that people get sent home. I think you should have
like that.
a thing.
Doesn't
no,
like that.
You should
It's
have
his
to come
favourite
back.
show, by the way.
You should have to come back. You should be able to fight your way back. There should be something.
Really?
Because sending people home, it's like disappointing. You should give them a chance to be the comeback kid.
But equally, it makes winning all the more exciting if you've had to battle through and you could have... It's precarious along the way, George.
But
it's like
that
life.
Machine is a little bit evil. You could be the smartest person in the world and still just be unlucky.
Evil mistress,
when
cruel
it
mistress. Thank you, George. Lovely.
Culture Club play the Three Arena on the Dublin Docks Tuesday the 3rd of December upcoming. They're going to perform their first two albums, Kissing to be Clever and Colour by Numbers, in full and in sequence. Boy George, good morning to you.
Absolutely, in sequence. We've been having this conversation for the last few days. Are we doing it as it is? I'm like, yes. Let's not argue.
It's definitely happening like that, in full order. Okay.
Yes.
We know exactly what to expect. Are you well this morning? How are you?
Very good, yes, very good. Lovely day. I've been up since 6.
Oh, what have you been doing?
I've got an art show this week, so I've been kind of finishing some things and just kind of, you know, just kind of cooking and, you know, living.
From 6 a.m. You never stop working. You could. I presume you've made enough money now to just lie in bed all day, do nothing.
Well, I don't know whether that's the reason why everyone works. I mean, work is. I really enjoy it. You know, I enjoy it. I don't sort of. You know, people always say, oh, it must be really stressful. I wish people would remove that sentence from the world.
Yeah.
Because it's like throwing a wet blanket on someone. Oh, you must be tired. Oh, you never stop. And to me, it's like I just really enjoy working. I mean, I don't see it as well, I don't really have a regular job, so I'm quite lucky.
You get to jump in and do exactly what you want, when you want.
To a certain degree. And obviously, you know, when you go on tour, you've got to, you know, there's things to do. You're always working for someone, realistically, you know.
Yeah, living the dream nonetheless. Come here, Dublin is your ancestral home. Will your Irish cousins be going to the gig on the 3rd of December?
All of them. Yeah,
all of them.
Always. I mean, you know, the last time I remember somebody went up the back to see, because obviously there's O'Dowd's, there's Glyn's, there's all sorts of names. And, you know, went out the back and shouted a few names out, and there was quite a lot of people. But, you know, that's always good, you know.
It is.
It's good to have that kind of family thing at a gig. And, you know, Dublin's always a great gig. I mean, we've always had great gigs in Dublin, always.
Yeah, you're really welcome here because you've got people from all around the country here, don't you? You've got obviously Wellington Street, Dublin 7, that was your mother's origins in the city centre, Finglas, Tipperary down south, Ballymena up north. You've got a really lovely spread across all of the whole island.
I've got relatives all over, and it's amazing when you bump into people, like, you know, when you're travelling around Ireland and someone says, I'm his cousin, or, you know, and then you start questioning them. You know, give me some names, you know, and it's always amazing. Obviously, on my dad's side, I don't know as many of my relatives, so that's always fun when you meet people from my dad's side.
Uh-huh. I hope you're making sure the credentials are tested. I mean, short of doing DNA swabs, I mean, going to be a lot of people going, oh, yep, that's me. I'm related to Boy George.
Well, I meet a lot of people in America called, you know, O'Dowd, and obviously, you know, there's Chris O'Dowd. I'm sure some way we're probably related in some way. You know, it's like, it's not that common a name.
No, it isn't. No, it isn't for sure. And you're one of Mrs. Brown's boys as well, potentially.
I am. Well, I'm weirdly related through my cousin's married to his wife's sister, which I think is the most brilliant thing ever.
It's a very Irish connection. Irish cousins there.
No, but also, not just to get the Irish thing, Mrs. Brown, just the fact that I'm related in some tenuous way. It's just insane.
And I would say you tell just as many dirty jokes as well. Are you familiar with the Irish accent? Because you're obviously you're a chameleon, obviously.
A little. I mean, you know, I often sort of tell people things my mum used to say, you know. My mum used to have these sayings, you know. We'll say, what's for dinner? I don't know if I can say this. Is this live?
Absolutely live. And you're one of us. It's completely allowed.
I used to say to Mum when I was a kid, what's for dinner? And she'd say, sheep, shite, holly and ivy.
Sheep, shite, ivy, holly and ivy. Okay.
Sheep, shite, holly and ivy.
Oh, my God. She was a ticket.
I'd say, Mum, what day is this? She'd go, Monday all day. You know, just when my mum was on the phone to her relatives, there was a lot of, you know, where are we at? She is, a lot of that stuff, you know.
What day is it? Tuesday all day. Yeah, that's a good one.
Exactly. My mum was brilliant with one-liners, very funny.
That's Dinah O'Dowd. I'm so sorry to hear that you lost her last year.
Absolutely. You know, it was an awful experience, but she's always with me. You know what I mean? The only frustrating thing in my life right now is that I used to call my mum about everything. Anything that happened, anywhere I went, what I had for dinner, new cushions. My mum was always the first person I called. And I was talking to my brother about this the other day. We both agreed it's annoying that I can't call mum to tell her about this. You know, that was the only thing I really miss, is having those kind of conversations with my mother and getting her views on everything, you know.
It's a big gap in your life.
It is, but, you know, I do really feel like her presence all the time. I really feel like that she's here all the time, and I talk to her a lot like a mad person, and I always know what she'd say about things, you know what I mean?
Yeah. You have to
basically get on with it. That would be my mum's answer to everything.
Well, even the way
my mum wasn't a big fan of arguing against what's happening. She'd say, well, that's what the situation is. Get on with it, you know?
Okay. And she had an amazing story, didn't she, coming from Ireland, going across to England?
Exactly. I mean, my mum wrote an amazing book called Christ Taught You Tears. Mm-hmm. And there was things that she didn't put in the book, like the fact that she ran away at 14 to England.
Wow.
And that my grandmother sent her sister, who was only a year older, to go to Liverpool to try and find her with no address.
Extraordinary.
How Irish is that?
Yeah. And in her whole story...
She never mentioned that at all. So I think that rebellious side of me definitely comes from my mother.
Yeah, you had to You have to get out from where you are to shine in the world.
Exactly.
That seems to be the message. Because we've enjoyed Who Do You Think You Are and the things that have been dug up there. I mean, it's just amazing. Your ancestors don't seem to have rested at all or had any. No one seemed to have any boring time at all in your bloodline.
It was really interesting doing that program and discovering, the connection to Kevin Barry and the song that I grew up with and heard as a kid every Christmas. My Auntie Kitty used to always put on that song when she'd had a few drinks. And so I knew the song, and for some reason I just convinced myself that I was related to Kevin Barry. And then obviously it turned out when I did the program, it was Thomas Bryan, and, he was one of Kevin Barry's men. And it was mad to kind of put a story to that song,
Yeah. What a great connection to have. I mean, when we...
Yeah, amazing. I mean, as I say...
When we look at Culture Club, it's hard to imagine that the influence of Irish rebel songs is in there, but it must be.
Well, I mean, Irish, people love music, singing. I feel like singing's in my bones. I feel like it's just part of my DNA. I feel like, my family were quite musical. My mother sang all the time. She loved pop music. She always had the radio on. I came home one day and caught her listening to Space Oddity, which was mind-blowing. She was ironing to my favourite Bowie album. And, my mum just loved the music. When she come to my gigs, she knew all the words. She'd sing along, so proud.
Brilliant memories to have.
Absolutely.
Oh, I'm so sorry for your loss. She was a terrific woman, and she's obviously very strongly with you. Even the way you're telling the jokes that you tell.
Absolutely. And, she would be there, when we play in Ireland, she'd be there up front row, loving it.
You mentioned Bowie there. You actually came to know him a little bit and meet him quite a few times?
When I say know him, obviously, when I was a kid, I sat outside his house. I went to see hundreds of concerts. And I got the chance to meet him. I had dinner with him once in New York, which was amazing.
Yeah.
I spent an evening with him, and he was just so charming. He was everything I expected him to be. Funny, interested in sort of, all sorts of different things. We had some quite interesting conversations about Russian art movies, EastEnders, British tea. But he was very playful, and he obviously knew that he knew how to behave around people. Do you know what I mean? He was just very classy.
How do you mean he knew how to behave around people?
Well, he was very conscious of who he was. He was David Bowie. You know what I mean? And even though I was obviously also famous, there was kind of, because I think stars from the 70s, the Bowies, the Elton Johns, the Rod Stewarts, they were treated very differently, and they're sort of slightly more nebulous in a way.
Yes.
They're kind of, if you've been a fan of someone, it's sometimes really hard to get past that feeling, like when you meet someone that's a total hero, not just someone that it's been on telly, but someone that's changed your life. I mean, Bowie really instructed me in terms of who I was going to become and the type of music I make. And I always reference him when I'm working, and I always think about the things he did. He was an artist too. He definitely never sat still. I mean, he worked a lot as well.
Yeah, they're like monuments, some of those kind of original famous celebrities from the 70s, and then they're just humans cracking jokes about tea bags, I presume.
I don't know if Bowie was ever really a human, though.
Yeah, he wasn't.
in the sort of traditional sense. I mean, there was always something about him. I feel like he moved around on casters. It was kind of special.
I know. It's kind of bizarre when you think of him appearing in those Ricky Gervais sketches that he decided to do that. But it sort of adds to
I saw
the
a thing last night with him and Kenny Everett, which I'd never seen before, which was hilarious. So, yeah, he had a very playful side, He had a great sense of humour.
Because we're talking about these first two albums, Do You Really Want to Hurt Me was really the huge breakthrough for you. Karma Chameleon, obviously, biggest hit worldwide. The singles it sold are kind of incredible to look at now. But there's an accidental kind of breakout for that song, isn't there, on Top of the Pops?
Well, I definitely didn't want that song out. I was like, when it came to the third single and Virgin said they wanted to put out Do You Really Want to Hurt Me, I was like, oh my God, this is the end of it. We're never going to get anywhere. It's too slow. It's too personal. It's just an album track. And, I was really surprised by the success of that song because I really thought it was the end of us. You know, I thought, well, that's it. No one's going to play this. So it was quite interesting. And we've just re-recorded it with Sia. And I have to say, I think it's better than the original.
Wow.
Which is a bit of a shock because I don't think you ever feel like that about something that's so classic. But, you know, we sent it to Sia. She worked on it, sent it back, and I was like, oh, my God, this is interesting. And it's, I don't know, I feel like she's cut out all the small talk. It's just in your face, pop, like you can't believe. And,
did you direct her?
No, not really. I mean, musically, we sort of, you know, we did a sort of new version of it, and then she did her thing on it. And, you know, I think it's really exciting. And also re-recording these tracks. I mean, obviously, Kissing to Be Clever, I've been re-recording it for the last few weeks. And you listen to it and think, what was we thinking? It's so weird. It's Latino. It's a bit like, it's a bit this, and it's so many weird elements in the music. And I was thinking, you know, yesterday, thinking, where did that come from?
Isn't that amazing?
Was it John? Was it Roy? Was it Mikey? Was it just accidental? You know, and obviously listening to the lyrics are very, very naive, and they're all about heartbreak and how horrible the world is. And you know, it's quite fascinating to kind of look at those songs, and very joyful, you know, in a kind of sad, melancholy way, which I think was always been Culture Club's thing, like happy, sad, like a bit of an oxymoron, you know. It's like sad songs to put you in a good mood.
I'm amazed because you would have spent all your life being asked, what does this song mean? What's going on here? And here you are 40 plus years later looking back at music going, I don't know what was happening other than that you were just very young.
Well, I wanted to be, you know, I was a huge Susie and the Banshees fan, so I wanted to do that. I wanted to be in a sort of gothy, rocky band.
Right.
And then, of course, once we got the band together, it sort of just turned into its own thing. And, you know, I kind of went with it, you know, and, you know, it was unique because no one person really decided what it was.
Mm-hmm.
And we spent the last kind of 40 years arguing about what it is as well, which is hilarious. You know, it's what it's like.
These new tracks, when will we get to hear them with Sia?
The Sia track will be, I think, later, maybe, I'm not sure if it's this year, but hopefully soon.
Okay.
And you know, we're re-recording the entirety of Kissing to Be Clever, so
wow,
that's going to be out at some point as well.
And have you got different artists kind of guest starring along the way?
We've got a few people, yeah, but Sia's the kind of most important one because, you know, I'm a big fan of Sia, and, you know, I met her a couple of years ago. She came to my gig in New York. Mm-hmm. And, you know, just, you know, I really like what she's done. I just think it's very in your face, like, take this pop music.
Yeah. Are there other artists you're looking at around the world and with interest?
You know what? I always think it's... Oh, I know what I could tell you. I've got... Do you know who Bauhaus are?
Do I know who, sorry?
Bauhaus.
I think it's Bauhaus you're saying. It's just slightly breaking up with me, the line at the crucial moment.
Sorry, Bauhaus. You know Bauhaus are?
Okay, yeah, go ahead.
Well, I've done a duet with Pete Murphy, which is coming out in November, which is quite exciting. That's really off the wall, but it's fantastic. So I collaborate a lot with people. You know what I mean? Not necessarily famous people. I collaborate with all sorts of people. You know, I'm very open to that. I really enjoy that. You know, kind of working with a lot of people, and also you can do things virtually now. You don't even have to meet people.
No, it's
you just email it. It's a very different.
It is speeding things up from 1982 for sure.
It's just a whole other thing. It's a lot easier, you know.
Yeah, there are a couple of fans in touch. They have their tickets already for Boy George. Looking forward to a great 80s night. That's from Margaret. Someone else is going to be celebrating their 60th birthdays at the gig. That's from Claire and Anne Marie, and they can't wait to see you.
Lovely. Well, happy birthday. Is it Margaret, you said?
Claire and Anne-Marie are saying, hi, George. Can't wait to see you on the 3rd of December.
It's their birthday? I thought you said it was the other lady's birthday.
No, it's definitely Claire and Anne-Marie's birthday. Celebrating their 60th.
Well, happy birthday, girls.
Tell Boy George his book is fab. A bland read it is certainly not, says Patrick and Derry.
My book?
Your book.
Karma, yes. I mean, it's just... I'm going to write another one because I missed so many things out of that book.
I think you changed your mind on things.
There's so much drama I missed out, but I'll do another one.
I already thought there were multiple memoirs for some reason.
There are, but there's so many stories. You finish your book and then you think, I forgot that. Oh my God. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah,
I just feel like there's always more to say.
Yeah, no, it's... we'll be watching with interest, for sure.
Absolutely.
It's never dull. Listen, we better let you go because I know you've got cooking and things to go, and I presume you've got cushions to buy and all sorts of fabulousness that goes on in your world. I mean, you're talking about David Bowie. You're the monument to the rest of us. That's what we assume your life is. I'm going to finish with a track. It's a Miracle is the one I picked because I thought we'd go for a bit of a bop.
Absolutely. I'm going to dance in my living room.
Okay, I hope you do. Boy George, it's been a pleasure. Thank you so much for the chat.
Thanks, Oliver.
Take care. Bye-bye. Bye-bye.
Bye-bye.
You can do this. You can do this. Let me help you get through this. I do this. You can do this.